It's nice to have somebody who actually like has a good microphone. Oh, well, cool, man. Well, yeah. What have you been up to lately? You got seems like you got like we just recently met each other online and stuff, but it seems like you're involved in a lot of different things.
Yeah, man. I mean, just business is one of my favorite subjects, one of my favorite hobbies, and it just so happens that all of my businesses are in construction, just more
Yeah.
so on the digital side. So, yeah, just staying busy with that. We're growing our agency, and then also what a lot of people don't know is I'm a part owner in a company called Turf Wars, and so we
Yeah,
have a
that was
big
literally
rate.
going to be my first question I asked you. I need to know about
Yeah,
that.
yeah, man, it's something a lot of people don't know, but basically, I'm a part owner with Hunter Walls, Jenna Walls, and Jake Sherbrooke in a company called Turf Wars Racing, and essentially, it's just side by sides, quads, dirt bikes, really anything goes. We have these events usually 2, 3 times a year. We meet somewhere in the Midwest and 300-foot track, and we just have a great time. So that business is, we kind of call it our guilty pleasure business because it's just racing. It's fun. You make a little money, but it really just scratches that itch that we're all looking for.
Do you actually race yourself?
So funny enough, I don't. It started in 2017, so this is year 7, and I've never raced. So I think this year I'll probably race. I'm flying up from Arizona, so usually I don't have anything with me, but most of the other or all the other owners and then everyone else races, and they're always willing to toss me something, but I haven't yet. So still waiting to make that debut.
Is it all like on a dirt drag strip, or what are you racing on?
Yeah, usually it's so if you've ever been to like the fairgrounds at like a demo derby, that's where we do it. We go around to other county fairs and essentially like it's Friday night turf wars, Saturday night demo derby. And that's so we are the entertainment, but anyone from the crowd can race. It's we've had 4-year-olds race in the kids class, and we have, banshees side by sides go head to head in the open mod. And so it's just a little bit of everything. And it's usually it's dirt, and then we just bring out the skids and bring in extra dirt. Sometimes it's clay, but really get that flat track.
That's neat. So you're actually like your business part of that is you're actually organizing the event. You're not like do you own a team or are you organizing the whole event?
No, we organize the whole event. So so we own Turf Wars Racing LLC, and so we just have the logistics, and then we can travel all over the country if obviously if the price is right, and we negotiate that with different county fairs or different racetracks that want to bring us out. Of course, it's easier in Minnesota where my 3 business partners are from, and that's where my hometown is, and so we go up there and usually have our events up there.
Okay. That's pretty neat. That's definitely a unique thing to be a part of. I like that.
Yeah, man, it's a lot different from what most people see and what we do, but yeah, it's just kind of a fun business that I don't get to talk about too often, and so yeah, it's something fun to bring up.
Yeah. Cause I mean, most people, I know that I love going to that kind of stuff. It's just cool. It's unique. I guess I never realized that those events actually have to be like well organized by an outside source or something. I figured it was just like, yep, we're going to have a race. Sign up if you want to.
Yeah, that's the thing is a lot of them aren't organized well, and so we kind of come in and that's what we offer is a brand, logistics. We have a website, we have all of this stuff lined up. We've been doing this, since 2017, so it's been around a long time, and we have big goals for it, but at the same time, all 4 of us own other businesses, and so it's a lot of times it's like a number 2 priority instead of that top priority.
Yeah. Kind of your hobby that you make it worthwhile kind of thing.
Yeah, 100%. Hobby that makes a little money is a ton of fun. You get to see a ton of people and bring people together and just like, move the racing community forward. And obviously with, you know, it seems like there's a lot of people that are in construction that are interested in like ripping a dirt bike, ripping a side by side. So those customer bases tend to cross paths.
Oh, for sure, man. Every dirt race I've ever been to is like, you don't see a lot of doctors and lawyers at them. I'll put it that way.
Right. No, it definitely goes in well with our, kind of our other businesses as well.
Yeah, I love that, dude. That's freaking cool. I love racing, and dirt racing's always cool. So where are your events that you have on the books right now? Where are they going to be at?
Yeah, so we just had our big one. It's in Detroit Lakes, Minnesota. That's where I was born and raised. And then our next one is in Appleton, Minnesota. It's just south a little bit, and it's at the Swift County Fair there. So the nice thing about that is, we have people travel usually in the 5-state area. So even at the one in Detroit Lakes, we had people come down from Canada, as far out as Pennsylvania, Nevada. And so people drive up just for the day of racing, and it's pretty crazy. But I mean, when you get a tight community, they'll make it happen.
Yeah. So are they just like modding out their razors and stuff like that to just make them faster than hell for this thing?
Essentially, yeah. We have $1,000 cash for the open mod winner. We had a 6-foot tall trophy. I could send you that picture after this. And yeah, I mean, it's just a good time. We have concessions, we have food trucks, we sell beer for people that aren't racing, and we always go out after and have a big after party. And so it's just a good time. It helps to inject money into the community as well. I mean, when we're bringing people in from all over, that's we're big on helping out the community, and they help us out as well. So just doing what we can to give back.
That's cool, man. I like that. That's a really neat deal you're doing there. Yeah, I had to ask about that because I don't know. I don't know anyone else is doing anything like that. So awesome, man.
Yeah, it's something we don't talk about much on podcasts too. So appreciate you bringing that up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I always love to hear about people's I mean, we can talk about dirt and construction all day. I mean, everybody's doing that, and we'll talk about plenty. But I mean, I love to hear about what people do outside of that, because that's also a significant part of their lives. Like, you doing your turf war racings. I mean, that's just like me playing in a band. Like, it makes me a little bit of money. I've probably spent more on it than I've made, but it's just fun. It's your guilty pleasure. It's your release, but you're still making it worth your while. So neat, man.
Yeah, 100%. And I think everyone has that, and they may not even know it, but everyone has their hobby, additional hobbies that keep them more diversified. And, unfortunately with entrepreneurs, sometimes the only thing they think about is their business. But it's like, if you can really just dig down a little bit further and see like, well, what else do I like to do? And what can I spend more time in? Maybe that's your fitness. Maybe that's, musician. Maybe that is racing. Like, what is your vice? Something else on top of being an entrepreneur or being obsessed with your career or your job. And so I think that really helps just kind of connect with other communities as well, and just kind of evolve as a human.
Yeah. Well, and it gets you out there, it gets you more people. And, I'm sure that although it's not necessarily directly beneficial to your marketing, I'm sure that you meet a lot of people that are out there that just so happen to own a backhoe company or an excavation company or something. And you're like, oh, hey, we can.
Yeah. And that's the thing. That's kind of the thing, man, is like, I don't really think too much about like, will this benefit Phaser Marketing? Like, does this guy have an excavation company? Could I work with them? Like, I used to think like that, and there's nothing wrong with that. But now it's just like doing what I love to do, living, making sure people know what I do, and also making sure I know what they do. Cause that could be anything. If somebody's a welder, we're not going to do their marketing, but I can ask them questions about welding. I can ask them questions about their business. I can ask them questions about what they're passionate about. So really just building those relationships. That's what I'm most passionate about, I would say. And not so much, just marketing. And I think that's sometimes a big misconception of, if I'm ever talking to somebody and they're like, oh, our construction company is not big enough to work with you. It's like, we can still have a conversation. Like, I'm still a normal person. I still like to do other things. I still love to talk business, and like, let's go through your numbers. So, yeah, man, just trying to be like, well diversified, and also showing people that, they can be as well.
Yeah. Yeah. One of our core values, at Dirty and Driven here, is make a friend. And I think that, sometimes it's make a friend, make a sale, but sometimes it's just make a friend because you don't know who you can learn from, and you don't know who can, maybe they're not going to benefit you now, but they might in the future, but even if you're not thinking about that, it's like, man, this is just a cool guy. I want to get to know him. I can learn a lot from him. And whenever you're doing something like racing, you're going to meet a lot of cool people.
Yeah, and the way I look at relationships, and I do my best to look at it this way. Um, Actually, to back up a little bit, my wife and I learned this in our premarital counseling. So, in a relationship, most people think it's 50-50, right? You do your 50, I'll do my 50. But our pastor told us no, it should be 100-100. Like, you shouldn't be expecting all this stuff from the other person. And so, I take that, my wife and I take that approach together, but I also take that approach with other people. Like, when I'm talking to you, James, I'm not like just looking for, XYZ from your audience. I'm not looking for a free sticker, which you sent me the other day. Thank you. Just things like that. It's like, how can I just give 100% value, but also do it in a way that's not like draining to me. I hear that all the time with people that are like very successful. It's always like, people want to pick their brain. People want this from me. They want advice, but they're not giving to them. And to me, it's just like, well, you can control that. You can control what you give. And that is what fills up my tank the most, is if I can help somebody that has questions. And if I maybe have an answer to it, or if I already stepped in that and had that issue, I want to be able to like help somebody along the way. So just giving 100% to other people, but doing it respectfully to them and respectfully to yourself as well, because you don't want that to bring you down.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree with that, because like with Dirty and Driven, I mean, right now we're still really small in like the actual business side of things. We have a couple partners, clients that we kind of work with here and there, but right now it's just mainly people hitting me up, just asking questions and wanting help. And, you get some back and forth and stuff. Sometimes there's people that drain you and want to just keep asking and keep going, and you're like, and finally you got to kind of be disciplined enough to wean off of that. But,
Yeah.
For the most part, most of the people in this community are very give and take, and everybody wants to teach, and everybody, I think, wants to learn if they're asking the right questions.
Yeah, 100%. And what I've learned too, more so in the marketing business, is that if it's happened 5 to 10 times in a row, like a certain question, then you can systemize it. So, we do a lot of videos and are starting to do more videos, and are going to put them on our website. Like, for example, a lot of people know who I am or what we do as a company, but they just don't know like the prices. And I found myself like on the phone every single day, like just saying the same things, answering the same questions. I'm like, man, what if we could like systemize this where they can learn all this information, get to know me and everything, and then call me and like ready to go. So that's actually what we're currently working on our website. We're going to show all of our pricing. We only have 2 programs, so it's like not rocket science. And yeah, and just like explain and answer all their questions in like a Loom video where I'm speaking. And then that way they're equipped to call me, and they already have the answers to some of these easy questions, more black and white questions that don't change. Then we can get into more of the strategy. Like, tell me more about your story. Let's talk about strategy. Let's talk about your business. But same thing when, with you, James, when you're consulting with people or people have questions or anything, it's like, how can we make this just a little bit easier so we're not having the same conversation, 50 times over, and we can have a more custom experience?
Yeah. Dude, that's awesome. I never even thought about it like that. Yeah. If something comes up 5, 10 times, and you're right, man. I wish more businesses actually would put their prices on their website. Like, I know that everybody's scared of competitors and whatnot, but I mean, let's be honest. Like, for your sake, a marketing company is a dime a dozen, but what you do isn't. I mean, you're very specialized niche marketing in this industry. And so if you put your pricing on there, then you're not spending all your time and energy answering those questions. And you have a lot more time, like you said, to truly get to know the person whenever they call you.
Yeah. And for that too, we're not the lowest bidder. We're not even close. And so I'm like, well, we're also not the highest bidder. BuildWit charges way more than us, but they also offer a lot more value for clients that are doing 100x revenue of what our clients are doing. So it's just you know your market. Our pricing is tailored to what revenue our clients are doing, and that's why we've built out these programs. And so it's like, yeah, it's $1,500 a month and $2,500 a month. Like there's nothing I'm hiding there. And so that's kind of the nice thing about it is, like you said, with, niching down so far, we know our market, the 6-figure excavation companies, the 7-figure excavation companies, and the 8 figures. And like, that's it. We don't work with any 9 figures. We send them to BuildWit, and, anyone else should be able to fit in there. And then there's, that phase 0, that's more of the startup, 0 to 500,000 in revenue. And, that is a different program we're working on right now to make sure they have the resources in that bootstrapping phase.
Yeah. So I do want to back up a little bit then. So tell me, just give the listeners a brief run through of what is phaser marketing.
Yeah. In a nutshell, Phaser Marketing is a digital marketing agency for excavation companies. So it's extremely niche. It's extremely specific. We did that on purpose. We started as a generalist agency. One of our first clients was Black Iron Dirt, Luke Payne. And as we started working with more excavation companies, we realized, okay, there's something here. And then I had also been doing some coaching, and they said, Luke, if you don't niche down, you're not going to know your industry. You're just going to be a generalist that tries to learn a new industry every time you bring on a client. So I think it was back in early 2021, I officially said, all right, we're not taking on any more clients that aren't in like the dirt world, essentially. And, fast forward to today, we work with about 42 excavation companies full time. And, we handle their website, their SEO, which is search engine optimization, and their paid ads. And so it's very simple. It's very niche. We're not on site taking photos and videos. We sub that out to, we have a bunch of friends in the industry who do that. So we sub it out, but we build the website. We make sure they're ranking on Google, and that's a long-term plan. And then we take care of their paid ads. So essentially we're an outsourced digital marketing agency for excavation and septic companies.
Gotcha. So why did you choose the excavation route? Like why was that your niche that you settled on?
Yeah, I think there's 3 reasons. It's a really good question too, because I really had to look at a few different things, because if I'm going to commit everything, resources, time, I want to make sure it's something I'm passionate about. So number 1 was like being passionate about the men and women that are literally building America. And, when you turn on the faucet, how does the water come out? When you flush the toilet, where does it go? And I feel like it was just an industry that I was passionate about. And like I said, at this time, we'd already been working with 4 or 5 excavation companies. Number 2, the construction industry as a whole lacks on the digital side. And so I saw that if we don't have to be the number 1 digital marketing agency that builds the best websites, we just need to we need to build great digital marketing habits and do them consistently. So we are very good at the basics, and that's what I'll tell people. And we can make a huge impact just because of that. Like if we start working with a septic contractor in Connecticut and we build them a sweet website, we know how to build them to rank on Google, and then we take care of their SEO ongoing, all of a sudden they're ranking for, in the top 3 for these keywords because their competition is so low. So that was a big one too. I saw the opportunity to help tell these stories in the construction industry online, and then also be that trusted partner for them. And the third thing, and I'm always honest about this, they're not afraid to cut a check. We had looked at other industries, and as an example, like if we did digital marketing for bakeries, like it would just be very difficult. And it's more of just like a mathematics question, because if you look at the margins, and our phase 1 is, $1,500 per month, it's just very there's a lot of strain. It's very difficult. So what I liked about the construction industry is that the opportunity for both ends as far as financials, for us, because a $1,500 auto pay per month on the credit card isn't crazy to them. They have payments way bigger than that. And then on the flip side, this is what gets me really fired up. The marketing we get to do, $100,000 jobs, $200,000 jobs, $400,000 jobs. Like there's some that are in the millions that, somebody found from searching, whatever it is, septic tank installer near me. And we popped up because we've been working on their SEO. And so just that, uncapped potential gets me really fired up. So I'd say those three things is kind of why we dove into the industry. And by that time, it was super easy for me. That was the industry I was more passionate about than anything. The people there that make up the industry, and then also the problems that the industry was facing. I saw that there's a big need, obviously the labor shortage, and just shining more light on the trades, because without the trades, especially without construction, we're going to fall apart. And that's kind of what we're facing down right now.
Totally. Yeah. And that's exactly it. So you picked up 4 or 5 construction clients kind of in the beginning. Did you just happen upon them? Was that by accident, or did you know them, or how did you get hooked up with them in the beginning?
Yeah. So right away at the beginning, that's a great question. Cause so our first ever client was a real estate agency, good friends of mine. And that's kind of when I learned that like working with a real estate agency as a marketing agency is hard. You have a lot of different individual contractors. Second client was Luke Payne with Black Iron Dirt. That was going amazing. I was like, okay, this is sweet. My third, and to back up a little bit, Luke Payne, him and I went to high school together. He saw I started this marketing company in 2019. He said, hey, I've got this construction company. Can you build us a website? That's kind of how that started. And then our third client was out in Williston, North Dakota, Three Forks Services. They had actually seen an ad that we were running for Black Iron and said, oh, that's a badass website. Like, can you help us? And I said, absolutely. And they're an oil field construction company. And this was May 2020. So they had pivot. I believe at that time, everything had dried up in the oil fields and they were going to pivot. And they're like, we just need something else. We have all this big equipment and we need to be doing like big construction jobs. So that was really fun because we were doing like cell tower construction. We're doing, big construction projects, mass excavation, things like that. And then from there, kind of just leveraging those relationships. And to be honest, like myself and our team just doing a good job for them. That's how, number 4 and number 5 came, is through referrals from those clients that were happy. So I'd say that's kind of how the first ones came, is, the first one was one of my really good friends. Second one saw the ad that we were running for him. And then all of them stemmed from there, of just like trusted referrals, which is always the number one way, the number one best way to market your business is like through these word of mouth referrals. But at the same time too, you need some of that digital marketing work to, to kind of help get there as well.
Yeah. So what was your first exposure to the industry? Did you have any sort of background?
Zero. I'd say first, well, besides like turf wars and being out on the track all the time, not much in blue collar. And I believe you had a similar story as well, starting out. Yeah, and that's actually what got me excited. It's like, you don't have to be born into the blue collar world to like be a part of it. And so, yeah, I didn't have much experience there, but I saw the value that I could bring. And that value, in my opinion, wasn't in the field, wasn't in the trenches. It was providing this business acumen and this marketing, digital marketing services for a very specific industry. And so, I'm still, like white collar for the blue collar industry. But, the only things I look at now, I consume, I read about, the shows I go to, everything, it's all in the construction industry. So it's amazing what you can learn, of doing the same thing for 3 years straight. And just like giving it all to one industry. So that's been my experience. And, I'm going to be here for a very long time is my plan. Unless I croak tomorrow. And so knock on wood, but that,
Lord willing, you'll be here a long time.
yeah. So yeah, as long as the Lord keeps me here, I'm going to, keep getting after it. So
Yeah. That's neat. So, and I do like that, because you're right. You don't have to come from a blue collar background. Your dad didn't have to be in the industry. Your uncle didn't have to be running a backhoe since he was 5. You don't have to be born on a farm running a combine when you're 5. You can join it at any time. And even if you're not in the trenches, you can still make an impact on the issues that we face in this industry. And it's like you're saying, you can go and you can learn, you can read about, you can go to conferences, you can meet people, you can still be part of the solution. And
Yeah,
that's exactly what you're doing.
100%. And then what I love to do too is like I just stay in my lane. Like I don't pretend that I'm somebody I'm not, right? Like I am very open to who I am, you know, maybe what my skill sets are, what I actually do, and I don't pretend to like, you know, I even just like wearing cowboy boots. Like I don't like do that to try and fit in at these construction shows. Like I just wear what I normally wear. And so you know, I think people respect that as well. It's like we can talk business and we can talk about marketing and a lot of other things within the construction industry, leadership, everything. But like when it comes to, you know, the nuts and bolts of it, like I don't pretend to be something I'm not. And so I think that's where some people lose them, is where they try and put on a fake face and yeah.
Yeah. That's something I've told several people is, you know, real recognize real. And the people that are in the trenches, they're not into the bullshit, man. I mean, they see right through fake people.
Yeah.
So you have to stay in your lane if you want to do anything in this industry. If you don't, you'll get chewed up and spit back out.
Yeah, man. And one thing that's really helped with all of this is our Dirtbags podcast. So, you know, Luke Payne, he is my co-host on that podcast, and we've been running that since February 2022, and that has been an absolute blast. I mean, I've learned more from that podcast than anything. I mean, I'm sure you can attest to that as well. It's just like,
Yeah.
you know, the guests we have on and the webinars we put on, like it is always just like learning, asking questions, being a student. And that's the beauty of it, is nobody knows everything and you can always learn something from somebody. And so people see that with me, people see that with Luke Payne, people see that with our guests that we have on, people see that with themselves. It's like, you know, you can always learn something from somebody. And the minute you stop learning, I mean, I look at that as failure, because we can always continue to learn. We can always be a sponge, but we also have value that we can give at any point to anyone.
Yeah. Tell me about your Dirtbag University, because I've signed up to do it twice, and then both times something came up and I ended up missing it. So tell me a little more about that.
Yeah, man. So Dirtbags University is an extension of the Dirtbags podcast. So Dirtbags podcast, you know, just a normal podcast like this. You can find it on all platforms. Comes out, you know, twice a month on Fridays. Dirtbags University, that is where we get into it. So it's a private webinar series. People actually pay $20 to sign up and be there. It's a Zoom meeting, just like we've all been on. But what's different is it's always on a Monday night. You know, usually every 6 weeks or so. It's a Monday night. We all have like our drinks in hand, ready to go. Usually have about 50 to 60 construction company owners from across the world show up, and we bring in a speaker. So Luke and I are like the hosts of it, and we bring in a speaker. So for example, we brought in Will Schuler from Willpower, you know, Excavation, and he is a stud. If you haven't heard of him, you know, go look him up, everyone. He is a stud. So our topic was finding your true cost in construction. And the layout of it is, okay, you know, this isn't recorded. And so we are going to dive into it. He opened up all of his books to his business, and he said, here's my spreadsheets, get your pencils or pencil and pen ready. Let's get after it. So, you know, we usually have a little intro. And then for 45 minutes, usually the speaker, the presenter dives into like an actual program of like, not just like BSing and like shooting the shit. It's like they are prepared with providing value to everyone that's listening. And so for 45 minutes, 50 minutes, all you could hear was just pens scribbling, everyone like on the screen, because what he was providing was so much value. And then after that, my favorite part is then we have about 45 minutes for Q&A. So people in that are attending, we can bring them in as a panelist if they have a question, and we walk through their scenario live. The great thing about that is if you have a burning question, you're like, yeah, this doesn't really apply to my business, let's jump in. And then we can jump into your numbers, we can jump into your scenario. Then everyone listening, they can learn from that explanation. So that's one of my favorite parts. from beginning to end, it's usually about an hour and a half. But we just leave, feeling so just like educated. And the big mission with that was learn how you want to learn. A lot of people that we talk with that are in our group that listen to the Dirtbags maybe weren't great high school students or college students. They love business, they love construction, they love hard work, and they still want to learn. They still want to grow their business. They want to, be a good husband or wife or whatever it is. And so we kind of set it up that way. It's like it's a Monday night, we're having a drink, it's an hour and a half, like we're hanging out with good buddies, good friends from all across the country and the world, and we're learning for an hour and a half. So that's kind of how we set it up. Our last one, we had Trevor Zenz from Western Excavation diving into estimating commercial jobs. So all estimating. And then the one before that, we had Aaron Witt from BuildWit and Dozer Dave from Gold Rush, of course, talking about leadership in construction. And so we really try and hit on, a lot of the topics that, the dirtbags out there are wanting to hear. And so that's our big mission with that. And it's an absolute blast.
That's awesome, man. So we're looking at doing something very similar for Dirty and Driven. So I definitely wanted to hear about that. But it's just so cool that you're putting on a deal like that. You're saying it's not recorded, so
Yep.
Your competitors aren't going to hear this. No one's going to steal your thunder. It's just let's open up, be as honest as possible, and let's talk about real issues that we all have, and just be real, be cool about it.
Yeah, 100%.
And either make it or you don't, kind of thing.
Yeah, man, it's crazy because like we're all in this together, really. And and if I could give you any advice when you do start it, it's charge for the webinar, because most people, 99% of people, it's a free webinar. And what I've noticed is that ours is $20, so you could do $10 or 15 or 20, whatever. But what I've noticed is that our retention rate is basically 100%, because people pay $20, they're going to show up, they're going to stay for an hour and a half, they're going to leave being like, yeah, that was worth $20. Like it's really not that much. But also then you had mentioned it earlier, like the podcast and the webinar, it's a business. And like, if people are supporting you, they want to see your business succeed. They want to see you bringing on better guests, better speakers, better equipment, everything. And so in my experience, nobody's ever had an issue paying just a little bit to attend. And it also helps elevate, your message, and like you want to kind of take that extra step because people are paying to be there. So that was one thing that surprised me as well. It's like, you'd think it's a Zoom call, why not just do it for free? But when we've done that before, it's like, it's hard to get people to show up because it's like just a free Zoom call, and like people just jump off because they have, got to go pick up their kids. But when they pay for it, they will stay, they'll take out the notes, and they will be, locked in.
They put it on their schedule for sure.
Yeah.
And also you're providing something that's not just another podcast. It's basically like, that's something that someone said is like, oh, you should just do it, and you and Casey get on here. But I'm like, I'm not going to charge people to listen to us just do a live podcast.
Yeah, definitely don't do that.
To people's lives.
Yeah, no, 100%. That's a great way to look at it too, because your podcast, Dirty and Driven, that's just like the gateway, the opening into like free content. And then the great part about the webinar is it's totally optional. We're not forcing you to pay to be here. And so like with your guys' webinar, like I know you'll get people to sign up, and you just have to have the right content. Like, what do people actually want to learn about, and who do they want to learn it from? And so even what we're doing now is we pay our speakers to come in. We pay them a good amount of money, and that comes from the people that sign up for the webinar. So we're all like in this together. We're all in this big bowl, and it's like, let's keep investing into the Dirtbags podcast and the Dirtbags University so that we can keep elevating, and then obviously elevating the industry as a whole.
Yeah. And I think that there's such a valuable lesson too. And this is something that every business owner, mentor I've had has said to me, yeah, it's also so hard sometimes to bring yourself to do it, is, charge for this stuff, and charge, a fair rate. You don't have to just absolutely gouge people, but also like make it worth your time and make it to where they're going to prioritize it on their schedules. But don't be afraid to charge for stuff. I think so many businesses have such a hard time saying, yeah, we'll do that for you, but it's going to cost a little bit extra. Or, a lot of people just say, oh, yeah, we'll do it. And then you find yourself 126, you've done a lot of free stuff. And it's like, man,
Yeah.
I'm gaining no value from this. I'm just
Yeah.
doing a lot of freebies.
Yeah, man. I always
But
say it
yeah.
like, you're not in business to break even. You're in business to make money and to make a profit. And that doesn't have to be a bad thing. That profit can go to charity. That profit can go to, whatever you want it to be. So as long as your why and your principles are, set in the right light, making that profit can and always will be a good thing as long as you are a steward of those resources. So yeah, definitely you're not in business to break even.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what got you into marketing to begin with?
Oh man. So I would say like I went to college, got a 4-year degree, is in sport management, so not quite marketing, but I really wanted to be like the GM of the Minnesota Vikings. I think that was like the long-term goal. Started interning at some minor league baseball teams and like the college, and realized like, this, I love to be a fan of the sports, but maybe I don't like working in sports because
Mhm.
it wasn't that great. And so then I kind of looked at, maybe more of my skill set, and I'm like, well, I'm not a technician. Like I'm not great at, for example, building websites, or I'm not great technically, but I felt that I could lead. And so I was very interested in like, kind of being very outspoken and being out there and like advertising, marketing, things like that. And so my minor was in marketing, didn't get me very far. Graduated, but then from there was a marketing director, an orthodontics practice actually in Omaha, Nebraska. That was my first real full-time job out of college, and that is where I really fell in love with digital marketing strategy, agency stuff, all of that. So, I think that's where I really um, liked the digital marketing piece, but way more than that was business. I've always seen myself as an entrepreneur. I always love buying and selling things off Craigslist, and like whether it's dirt bikes or dune buggies, like just making a profit, quick flips, things like that. So I was way more interested in business, and then digital marketing was that channel where I was like, okay, this is clearly not going away. This is growing. I'm going to pursue this as my first business venture. And yeah, besides Craigslist flipping, that was essentially my first real business in 2019 was Phaser Marketing. And I really just wanted to build the brand and see like, yeah, if one day I can go full time in this, that would be sweet. If not, like I'm just going to keep building this thing and see how big we can get it on the side. And so, for 2 years, I didn't pay myself a single penny out of it. I wanted to learn and keep it growing, and learn how to invoice people, learn how to work with customers while having a full-time job. And then August 2021, my wife got a job in Arizona, and I left my job and haven't been employed since.
Hmm. Haven't been employed since. Love that. Yeah, that's a cool story, man. You just went to college, said this isn't my gig, and then you said I want to start my own company. So you went for it, man. That's Isn't that how a lot of us start companies?
Yeah,
Exactly that.
and
You just get bored of
yeah, and
working
I
for
think
somebody
it's,
else.
some people think that it has to be this big, scary, deep dive into like this entrepreneurship world, but like I did the opposite of that. I still worked a full time job. I had a salary. Like I didn't pay myself anything out of this business. So if you're able to, which in construction it's very difficult, but if you're able to like start on the side, it's very helpful in my opinion, because you get to learn all of these issues that come up, and you get to learn, how to do billing, how to set up your emails, how to set up your website, all this stuff while still having like an income. But um, people look at it different ways too. Like I see there's situations where it does make sense to give it your all 110% right away, that you're committed. But in a lot of businesses, you can kind of start on the side, make sure it's a good fit, and then kind of pull that boat a little closer to the dock. So when you do go full time, you already have income coming in, you have customers, you have Google reviews, you have like systems in place. I'm pretty risk averse, so I think that's how I like to do it. Is pull the boat a little closer to the dock before taking that leap.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and if you're in the position to do so, it's like you said, some people necessarily can't, or some
Yeah.
people maybe they lose their job and it's, well, this is my only option, or whatever the case may be. Sometimes people just have to do that. But I think most things, even in construction, a lot of times, if you just plan on starting your own dirt work company and you're going to start with one piece of equipment and you can pick up a few small jobs and work your way up to where you at least have some clientele and some word of mouth, and you kind of at least have your ducks in a row to where whenever you do quit, you're not starting from bare bones scratch. So yeah, that's a great way to do it, and it's just kind of seamless. And then eventually you go, okay, time to do it full time.
Yeah, 100%. And one guy that I think of that's perfect for this example, is Luke Payne, and he basically was working full time at U Motors, selling boats up until like last year, I think, and he had built two big excavation companies, two separate ones, Black Iron Dirt and Western Excavation in Bismarck, while working full time. And so it's like, if that doesn't tell you that, you can't do it, I don't know what does. But he's got a different situation too. And we talk all about it, one of the episodes we did on our podcast. And it's just, there's not just the one option. Like there are other options. I always like to say, try and find three options. If you only have two options, you just need one more, and then you can pick between those. And so that'll usually help with not pigeonholing yourself into just like, I have to do this. Usually there's a third option.
Yeah. Was Luke Payne, was he on an episode of Dirt Talk?
Yep. Yeah. Early on. Yeah. He was with Aaron Witt on Dirt Talk. And then we've had Aaron on our podcast a couple times. And then, it was,
I just put two and two together. Like I've seen his name on, I've heard him on your show and everything, but then like you said, selling boats. And I was like, wait a second, that sounds really familiar.
Yeah. Gosh, that was when he was still selling boats. So I've listened to that maybe a year ago, but that podcast probably came out a year and a half, 2 years ago, on Dirt Talk. So
that's cool. Yeah. I didn't ever put two and two together on that one. Huh. Neat. How'd you come up with the name Phaser Marketing?
Oh man. So what I thought, that is to this day the hardest thing I've ever done, is come up with a name for the business. Everything else came a lot easier, but man, my wife and I, we were in Omaha, Nebraska at the time, and I knew I wanted to start a marketing agency, and so I was like, all right, let's figure out a name. And we sat out by one of the only lakes in Nebraska, had a bottle of wine, and had a notepad. And we just started scribbling names, and I figured it would be like a one glass, find the name in 10 tries or something. But we could not nail it down. We were coming up with all these different names and just mashing words together. And I was like, this is not good at all. Like, this is horrible. And basically we had a full page of notes, and like the two leaders were Develo Marketing, which was, I was like, okay, I actually kind of like this. And it was taken. So I was like, damn it. Okay. And then what was the other one? The other one was Luxeo. So Luxseo. And that was going to be like luxury SEO, which I wasn't crazy about that, but I was like, the name sounds kind of cool. So we ended up scrapping that as well. And I was like, yeah, I want to make sure it's like at least a good name that we like. And so
I don't know why, but Luxio kind of sounds like a strip club.
Yeah, maybe that's what I was thinking. I was like, I don't want people to get the wrong idea. It could have been digital marketing for strip clubs, though. You never know. Like with LUXXX SEO or something. But then so we scrapped it, finished the bottle of wine, and we're like, all right, we got nowhere, except it was a beautiful night. And 2 weeks later, I was like, how do you come up with a good name? And I actually looked it up, and it said, like, if you can instill like what you believe in into your business name, that's like bonus points. I was like, okay, well, what am I trying to do? And my big thing at the time was like simplicity for business owners. Like, instead of having an email for this graphic designer and then a phone number for somebody that does your website stuff, and like, all these contacts all over, I wanted to keep it super, super simple. And, instead of looking at all the millions of things that go into digital marketing, they just see like three simple phases. That's phase one, set your foundation. Phase 2, we're going to grow your brand. And phase 3, we're going to dominate your market. And that's essentially, and I just tossed an R on there, and phaser came. And now we've since evolved that to where phase 1 is digital marketing for 6-figure excavation companies. Phase 2, and it's still to set your foundation. Phase 2 is digital marketing for 7-figure. Phase 3 is 8 figures and above. So we've tailored these phases to where you would be in business after working with them for, a couple years.
Okay, that's cool. I really like that. You tie your name into everything you do. I can get behind that.
Yeah, man. So it was easier said than done, but I'm just so glad that one wasn't taken, because I was like, right when I thought of it, I was like, this is it. And it was available.
Yeah, that's kind of how I was with Dirty and Driven. It took way longer than I care to admit to come up with that one, because I feel like it's like whenever I finally came up with it, I was like, I feel like that was not that like I feel like that was kind of obvious, but
not that complex. But it's like, dang, that was hard.
Yeah, it took. Oh, dude, I don't even want to admit how long and how many stupid names I came up with before. I didn't even come up with the name. It was a friend of mine. And then like putting it into Google, you're like so nervous, or like you put it into like one of those websites to see if the website name's taken. Dude. You're like, and then it's like, yes, it's there,
available.
Yeah. I think that's the hardest part of starting a business, is coming up with the name. If you don't just like name it after yourself.
Yeah, and obviously in construction, that's par for the course. Like 95% of companies are Eggebraaten Excavating, or things like that. So it's nothing wrong with it. Like if it were me and I were giving somebody advice, like I would rather do more generic, Diamond Construction, Premier Excavating, things like that. But yeah, a lot of times it runs in the family.
Yeah. So why should construction companies gain an online presence?
It's $1 million question. In my opinion, actually this came up the other day, which is hilarious. So I was talking to a young gentleman. He is a digital marketer as well, out in Montana. And he's like, yeah, man, I don't know how you do it. Most of the construction companies in Montana, like they don't need marketing. They just need to hire people. And I was like, how do people find these companies? How do they know they exist? And he's like, marketing. I was like, yeah, I mean, it's marketing isn't leads. Marketing is a broad topic, and it's every single business needs marketing. And so the nice thing about being so niche in excavation is that probably 70% of our clients like don't need any leads. And they're like, Luke, yeah, we don't need any leads. We just want to build a better online presence. Maybe it's to build the legacy for potentially their kids or grandkids to take it over. Maybe it's to build better systems so that it's not just the owner running out and doing every single job, and then if he goes on vacation, everything falls apart. Maybe it's, okay, we want to grow and scale and get from 1 million to 10 million, and we need that lead flow coming in. All of these things encompass marketing. And regardless, one of my favorite questions I ask most construction companies that are like kind of tossing around the idea is, does your website accurately represent your company and your company's history and what you offer? And usually it's a resounding absolutely not, or hell no. Mm-hmm. So that's at the very basic. It's like, does your online presence represent who you guys are and like what you guys do? But then you can go so much further, of course, of like, yeah, if somebody searches, sewer line repair near me, or, excavation contractor near me, where do you guys show up? Like, are you just, not even on Google? And so we're seeing that is that most people now understand that it's going digital, right? And like, I will always say that word of mouth is the best form of marketing, but how do you complement word of mouth? Like if somebody says, yeah, go check out Eggebraaten Excavating, and it's like, okay, sweet, I'll check out their website, and it's just like not found, then, you might even go to somebody else. So you will only help your word of mouth marketing with a better website, somebody being able to find you on Google, somebody seeing a social media account that like has faces on it and like has nice, equipment and well put together stories and things like that. So really just kind of bringing that all together into your customer experience. And digital marketing is such a small piece of the pie. I like to say you have to complete the wheel. So there's a ton of other things that you still need to be doing, as far as handing out business cards, shaking hands, over delivering for your clients, making people happy, going out and getting Google reviews, attending these different events, maybe investing in your community. Like, it's not all just like, oh, we're going to call Phaser and our business is going to explode and it's going to be great. And so it's such a small piece of it, but it'll only help your overall strategy. So completing the loop is what I call it. And there's a lot of businesses that do a great job of it, and those are the ones that we want to work with. And then there's other businesses that some businesses that don't care for their clients, or they don't treat them well, and we don't want to work with them because we know that our digital marketing isn't going to work for a company like that.
Right. Yeah, and I love that you hit on it, because that was my next question, was the guy that says, I don't need more work, I don't need more leads, I don't need to go chasing work, so why should I be online? Dude, that's where all your employees are at.
Yeah, and to be honest, I've gotten to a point too where I don't beg anyone to work with us. I think I'm more about like putting out value first. I always say I want to be a resource first and a marketing agency second. I just published my first book in March, and so somebody can buy that, or the podcast is free, or the webinar is $20 to come to. And like, there's so many resources out there that I'm providing and or trying to provide. And so, yeah, if somebody's like, well, I don't need marketing, I'm like, okay, like, do you want to talk about something else? It's just like, I have no hard feelings if people don't want to hire us. Like, I can talk about other things too. And so I think that's been the most relieving part of business, is when we kind of cross that point of like, okay, I can pay myself, I can pay our team, our clients are happy, and now I can just sell value. And that's what I was trying to do before. But there's a little bit of that desperation when you're like, okay, like, if we don't get any clients here, like, I can't be doing this. And so once we cross that, it's just like, just really trying to focus on being myself, letting our team be themselves, and really just trying to promote that positive attitude of just like, everything's going to be okay. Let's figure it out. And, let's get her done.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly it. And I just wanted to touch on that too, because like, we have a lot of guys, a lot of our audience is your small construction owner. He's got 1 to 10 employees. That's, a pretty big demographic of our listeners. And I would be willing to bet that, a lot of them have some online presence. They at least have like Instagram, social media, because that's how I know a lot of these guys.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of them that don't. And there's a lot of them that probably don't have any sort of a website that would, even if they don't want to grow and scale right now, that's still where you find people, or that's where you find more business, is online. People are going to Google it, and people want an easy way to contact you. People want to be able to see what you're about, and people want to have an idea and just a foundation about you before they even make that phone call.
100%. And as you're just saying that, I'm like, it's not an either or. It's like, it's a whole piece of the pie. I mean, it's like, it's not like you stop, shaking people's hands or branding your trucks or your equipment when you do a website or you do digital marketing. It's like, no, this is just like, it's, and, we're doing digital marketing and everything we've been doing with word of mouth and everything. So, and, even if guys still want to be in the phone book, which we have one that's still in the phone book, I'm like, that is totally okay. Like, you can do whatever you want, but it's, I would recommend against it, but it's not going to like hurt you. And so, because they're also doing the digital stuff as well. And so, yeah, man, it's just like, it's not either or, it's and.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's something I've learned too, seeing, I mean, cause I still work in the industry. It is, you want to go in, you want to denounce a lot of that old school stuff too. But really, I look at all this, marketing stuff like that as supplements. Like you're saying, word of mouth, quality of your work, that's what matters. That's the meat, potatoes. That's where you're getting the main stuff. But just like supplements are to your diet, you got to have a good solid diet foundation,
Yeah.
and then you add your supplements in, and then you can make those results better. It's the same thing. You're just adding supplements to it. So your online presence, maybe your phone book. I mean, because like in my area, the people who are hiring construction companies to come, like, build them a $50,000 asphalt driveway, a lot of those dudes are in their 60s, 70s, maybe even older, and they don't even have a smartphone. So a
Yep.
phone book is still a great place for them to get and look it up. And then like a radio ad, stuff like
Yep.
that. It's all like you're saying, it's and add it together. You might have the best online presence in the world, but the 45-year-old operator who doesn't get on Facebook,
Yep.
he may not see that, but he may see, or he may hear, your ad on the local radio station. So
100%. And it's that omnipresence marketing, we call it, where you're kind of everywhere always. And that's, your equipment, your trucks, your billboards, your radio ads, your app, your Facebook, your Instagram, your website. But one of the things that I really like about digital marketing is it's all measurable. I can tell you how many people saw this post, how many people clicked on your website, what they did when they were on your website, where other marketing channels like a billboard or, the phone book, like it's a lot harder unless they convert and they call. And so that's one thing I really like about digital marketing is it's very measurable. We can stretch a dollar pretty far.
yeah. And it's a funnel too. I
Yep.
mean, you want to funnel people to your website so that way they can't. I mean, if you have a really nice looking website, if they hear a commercial, if they see your phone book ad, if they see your blip in the newspaper,
Yep.
I would say most people are still going to Google you
Mm-hmm.
and just see what they can find out.
Especially nowadays too. Yeah. And those are still great to have because that's top of funnel. Like you're saying, it's like somebody saw you on the billboard, but they didn't have time to call. But then, yeah, when they see your truck, they're like, oh yeah, that's a nice looking truck. And then they see your website and they click on it and your website's well put together. Then they learn more about your team on your about page. Then they click for like potentially a free consultation or just a regular estimate when they realize actually what you do. Maybe that's a full backyard transformation, like a hardscaping company. There's just a lot that you can do with your funnel, and it's not like you're going to convert somebody right away. Usually there's 25 touch points before somebody makes a sale. And so, you're not going to get them on that first touch point the first time somebody ever sees you or hears about you. So how can you get to those 25 touch points? Obviously quicker than, you don't want it to be over like 10 years, but how do you get to those 25 touch points and have them diversified?
Yeah. So what are some aspects of a good website?
Really, it's how it's built. So there's kind of two ways. So if we are building it, we build them a certain way. So we build all of our websites on WordPress. And one important thing is when you build out separate service pages. So for example, if we're talking about an excavation company, we'll have an excavating page, probably like a utilities page, like if they're doing underground utilities. If they put in septics, we'll have a separate septic page. And the reason for that is Google will pick that up as like its separate page. And so they see like the URL is blackirondirt.com/septic tank installation, and then so Google picks that up and then Google crawls the website and sees like, okay, the main descriptor is the H1 tag. This is a heading tag. What does that say? And if this says septic tank installers in Fargo, North Dakota, they'll be like, oh, sweet. Okay. And then they just keep reading the site. So really it's how it's structured and how it's built. That is kind of on a more advanced level of like what we can do, but kind of going backwards a little bit, if somebody's building it themselves, I always recommend Squarespace because it's very easy to use. It's very user friendly. There's like some simpler SEO options of like put, your city here and then put what your service is here, and it'll kind of do it for you. It usually won't outrank like, if like an agency or somebody builds it the right way, but you can definitely get a lot further and do it yourself. So it's kind of one of those things where I always tell people it's, what is your time worth? And if you spend all this time doing it and the website pops out to be like not that great and it doesn't function well and it doesn't perform, then should you just hire it out? So that's kind of what makes up a good website. Easy to contact. Of course, we always have like the phone number, contact page, contact form, but multiple ways to contact. So the form, some people like to detail their project out, what they're looking for, and then it goes right to their email or their CRM. Some people just want to pick up the phone and call. I always love having a call option on our websites because it's like, hey, most people like to just pick up the phone and ask the question. And then sometimes too, we'll do, texting or that chat widget. Usually we don't, but for some clients we will. And just like a quick, easy way to kind of basically shoot a text from the website.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, because so what would you tell the guy who I know you kind of touched on it earlier of you're kind of trying to help that guy out, but a guy who's let's say smaller, starting out in that 1 to 10 employee range.
Yep.
Maybe he even does a 6-figure company, but he's not quite sold on the whole, well, I want to pay $1,500 a month to do this. What are you going to say to that guy? Just advice as getting started in the marketing world and maybe kind of building his trust up and realizing the tool it can be for him.
100%. So no matter what, a free tool that anyone can use, especially in this industry, is called a Google Business Profile. Basically, you can verify your business on Google. If you just type in Google Business Profile and then you can type in all your information, essentially it's like a miniature website on Google for your company. That alone is very easy to do and will take you a lot further than not having it. So definitely do that first. It actually acts like a social media essentially as well. So I put it in my big four. So my big four, if you own a construction company for social medias, you should set up a Facebook business page. You should set up an Instagram company page. You should set up a LinkedIn company page. And you should make sure your Google business profile is set up. Doesn't mean you have to go crazy and like do all this strategy stuff. Just get them set up, put your logo in the bubble, get a little cover photo made, put it in there, put your information in, and then you're like, okay, you might be out on a job. You just put in a septic tank, you took some pictures, and then you just detail it out. And a good recommendation I always use is don't try to please anyone. Just nerd out and just talk about what you did. You don't try and please anyone. Don't overthink it. Talk about how many yards you put in, why you put the certain tank in, and just be yourself. Then just just cross post it. Do the same thing, post on your company page on Facebook, your LinkedIn, your Instagram, and then your Google business profile. And if you can do that and you just do it consistently and you don't expect results and you do it over a long period of time, you will see results. And it's nice because each of those platforms targets a different community and a different buyer or person. So Facebook, you're looking at more residential projects, usually people that are looking to hire you. Instagram seems like it's all contractors. That's where you're kind of networking. You're working with other people around the country that can help you solve problems. LinkedIn, a lot of big executives, presidents of companies, presidents of GCs, project managers. Like that's where you can really do a lot of networking. And then Google Business Profile. I mean, Google is seeing what you're posting. And so they're grabbing keywords from there and kind of elevating you up. So that is what I would focus on. And then you can kind of get into like, okay, now I should have a website connected to this. Then you can jump on Squarespace. It's a lot of drag and drop stuff, super easy. You just get a free template. And, I think it's $267 a year, something like that. They host it and all this. So very easy. And then I would just say too, like if you have additional questions further than that, reach out to somebody. Like I mentioned, I can always be a resource. I get to work with tons of web designers every day and in the industry. So reach out to somebody that, is in the industry that has a marketing background. They'll give you either tips or they'll give you options on like, yeah, if you do it yourself, I would do this. If you want to hire something that's like $1,500, I would do this. If you want to jump in, that's something more expensive, I would go this route. So, don't underestimate your network, and also reaching out to somebody in construction that might be able to help you out.
Yeah. And I would say too, if you're going to go the route of trying to do it yourself, first of all, designing a website, in my opinion, absolutely sucks.
Yeah.
I did the Dirty and Driven website. I have not enjoyed building that process, and I haven't spent I don't have the time to spend on it that it needs to be spent on. And I'm probably going to end up, hiring somebody out to finish it, or just get somebody to start kind of managing it for me from here on. But anyways, it's not the most fun thing in the world to do. So most construction guys, I think, understand that if I don't know how to do something, I should hire it out, but not everybody does. But also, if you do want to attempt to do it on your own, I would highly recommend your book. I am reading it right now. I'm about done with it.
Let's go.
And it's good. I mean, it's very hands-on, very nuts and bolts. It's not just like, here's why you should market digitally. It's, all right, you decided you're going to market digitally. Let's fucking go, man.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. And I appreciate that. I appreciate you reading it. And, at the end of the book too, because the book is just a tool. And so I even put my personal cell number on the last page of the book, because it's like your questions aren't going to stop there. Like after you read the book, like you're going to need to evaluate, and like you're going to run into roadblocks. And so that's why I did that. So I have people reach out to me and they're like, okay, now I'm at this process. What do you think of this? And I can kind of help educate, or be a resource, or point them in the right direction. But yeah, so if anyone's looking for some extra reading material or an extra drink coaster, the Digital Dirt World is on Amazon.
If they use it as a drink coaster, they might get your white tie dirty.
Oh yeah, we wouldn't want that to happen.
No, it's good, man. I really like it. What made you decide to write a book?
Honestly, my coaches. So I'm in a digital marketing agency mastermind, and have been for the last couple of years. And I'm big on coaching, because I don't pretend that I know everything. And so, they've helped more so like from a top looking down, why you should niche down, why you should have a podcast, why you should have a webinar, why you should be an author, why you should be speaking at industry trade shows, all of this stuff. So that was the big reason for it. I thought it'd be fun too to like publish a book, and it was free, like through Amazon direct publishing or whatever. Like it's super easy. I mean, you literally just submit basically a 200-page Word doc to Amazon. They print all the books. Like, so anytime somebody orders it, they print it and they ship it. So I don't like do anything, and they just send a royalty each month. And so it's like anyone can write a book, and it's super easy. It's free. I'd say the toughest part is the actual like content in the book. So luckily, a lot of the things I got to write about were, I wasn't reinventing the wheel. It's kind of just like conceptualizing everything and making sure that it's like tailored towards the marketing industry, because that's where we work.
Yeah. No, I was surprised by how, I mean, I bought it. I saw that you did it, and I was like, cool, I'll support. And then I started reading it, and I was like, man, this is very hands-on. Like, this is a very practical book on just digital marketing for your construction business. Like, it's cool. I mean, if you want to do this stuff yourself, or even if you want to hire somebody to do it, like even if they want to hire you or they want to hire someone else, it gives you like half the words you've used. I only know because I have read most of your book.
Yeah, right.
SEOs and things like that. I mean, if we'd had this conversation last week, like we were supposed to, before my calendar scheduling skills sucked, I would have had no idea what you're talking about. It'd been way over my head. So it really gives you a clear understanding of just the basics.
Yeah, man. And that's what I tried to do, and just like set the foundation, but also like, you kind of see it in the SEO chapter. Like that's one where it gets pretty technical and we dive into it, but kind of wanted most of it to be very basic foundational knowledge, and then like dive into it a little bit more, like for people that were really like kind of nerding out about that stuff in their own business. So, but yeah, like I said, that's why I put my number at the end, because if somebody wants to learn more about a certain chapter or a certain aspect of digital, that's what it's there for.
Yeah. You ever read books by Bob Goff?
Yep. My wife loves Bob Goff.
Is
Favorite
that where you got?
favorite
Yeah.
author.
Yeah. A friend of mine gave me one of his books a couple months ago, and it was the same deal. He put his number at the end.
Yeah.
He said that and made me think of that.
Yeah. I thought about it for like 2 seconds and I was like, should I? I'm like what's gonna happen? Like is
Mhm.
some nothing bad's gonna happen from it. I'm like, I don't care who has my number. It's you can find it anywhere anyway. So it's not in the phone book.
Yeah. 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 And I mean, most people, I mean, what I've learned working in construction and now doing online stuff is like the weird people are going to find it either way.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and
I
you
mean,
know what I thought of too? I'm like, if somebody got to the end of the book, like they can have whatever. I mean, like that's the least I could do.
yeah. Yeah. And most people are going to look at that and they're go, I'm not going to bother him. But, some people will be like, hey, yeah, most reasonable people are either not going to bother you or they're only going to ask if they have a legit question. So,
Yeah. I mean, it's there for a reason. So,
yeah. Yeah. I give my phone number out like a French whore. I mean, it's just kind of deal, dude. I'm probably should protect it more, but oh well, I don't.
I love it.
Uh, well, one other thing I wanted to ask you about, something you've been plugging a lot lately, is your gala that you're about to put on. Tell me about that.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Yeah. So the Phaser fundraiser, something I actually started in 2020. So, Phaser marketing, we had 2 clients maybe at this time, and is July, COVID, so everything's happening. I just remember wanting to do more, even though our business like didn't have like any revenue. I was like, how could I
Mhm.
like start something where I could like help out an organization? And so I didn't know what that meant, but thought back, and I was like, okay, the Boys and Girls Club in my hometown, they do a ton, obviously, for the community, and they help all the kids that kind of roll through. And so I was like, all right, I'm just gonna figure this out. So I called the executive director and just said, Pat, I started this business and I want to try to raise as much money as I can for you in 10 days and just see what happens. Like, I don't have the money to write you a check, but I'm just going to see how much we can raise. And so I told them my goal is $5,000 in 10 days. And we ended up raising $6,100.
Nice.
And that just really, sparked a fire. And then fast forward we had our first live Phaser fundraiser in 2022, which is really the mission for it. I was like, I wanted to do this live and just bring people together. Same thing, we had a black tie gala and just had a bunch of drinks, food, live auction, concert, like all this fun stuff in Detroit Lakes, my hometown, and ended up raising $20,000 for them last year in the one day. And then this year, it's on August 17th in Detroit Lakes, Minnesota. Basically, everyone's invited. You can jump on our website, phasermarketing.com, if you want to buy a ticket there, or if you want to donate. And it's the same thing. It's the second annual Black Tie Gala, August 17th. We're going to have a big party right in Detroit Lakes, and it's just so exciting. Like, I have found that is what I'm a lot more passionate about, is like helping them and helping like others. And so but also having a good time doing it. And so it's been wild, man. Like in the last few days, like you said, I've just been pushing it. And as of this recording, we've gotten, I think, 6 sponsorships, and the sponsorships start at 500, then it's 1,000, then it's 2,000 or more. And all 6 of the companies that sponsored don't have their company in Detroit Lakes. They're from all over the country. And
Cool.
and I think all 6 of them are in construction, if I remember, or besides one. And that just like fired me up too. I'm like, man, how cool is it that essentially we're kind of creating an opportunity to give back, and people are jumping on it. And so it just gets my wheels spinning of like, what more can we do and just like get people excited about. And so yeah, if anyone's interested in coming, definitely come. It's a great time. If you can't make it but you want to donate, either reach out to us on Instagram, Phaser Marketing, or you can donate, I think, in the Eventbrite event. But yeah, man, I told them our goal is 100,000 this year that we're going to raise. And if we fall short, we fall short. But my goal is to crush it. So we'll see what happens. The support from the community and everyone around the country has been unreal. So we just, can't thank everyone enough for all the help with that.
That's cool, man. And it's always good to set those goals high because I think most people, especially in that kind of stuff, they tend to rise to the occasion. So I
Yeah.
mean, good for you for doing that, man. I'm a guy that I love giving back as much as I can, as also a passion of mine, and it's cool. I mean, especially whenever you're helping kids out, whenever you're helping your local communities out. If you can give back, if you're in that position, you should. I think it's our duty to do that.
Yeah, man, and that's my favorite thing. And another thing that I learned, and I guess maybe a lesson, is you don't have to be making millions of dollars to start something like this or to give back. And like, we our revenues are probably like $5,000 a year when we started, and so you just have to get creative, And so I'm like, well, I can't write the check, but we can. I know there's people out there that are excited to give, and so just getting creative and like, if you think of something, do it. Don't overanalyze it because that's gonna crush you.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I completely agree. If you can, there's a guy that our town was founded on oil. Well, it was founded by the Indians, but basically it was blown up by the oil industry. And there was a guy here named E.W. Marland. At one point in time, he was one of the richest guys in the world. He started Marland Oils, which eventually became uh, Conoco Phillips, Phillips 66, all that. It grew into all that stuff. Um, but one thing he always said is, the more you give back to your community, the more your community gives back to you.
Yeah.
And in my personal life, I have found that to be true, whether it's giving time or it's giving money. Because sometimes I can't give time, but I can give money. Sometimes I can't give money, but I'll give time.
Yeah.
And your community gives back all the time.
Yeah, man. I love that too. And it's like we mentioned earlier too, of just like not even thinking about what's coming back, of just like giving to give, giving 100%. And then it always seems to come back 120%.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer in karma, both good and bad. And if you put good things into the world, it's going to come back around, whether you're asking for it or not. It it just tends to. And if you put bad things in the world, then buckle up.
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, be a good person. That's all you got to say.
Yeah, cool, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on. This was a fun conversation.
Dude, absolutely. Thank you for having me on. I feel like got to cover a lot of topics that I normally don't talk about, like with turf wars and sometimes with the book and things like that. So I had a blast, man. And I've been binging all your episodes too, and just like keep it up. I loved how you switched and you were the guest essentially the other day. And
Yeah.
I love what you're doing, obviously with crew as well. And
Mhm.
excited to keep that rolling and keep that mission like in the in the windshield here. Like let's keep going after it.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah, that's something we didn't even plug is a crew collab. I'll plug
Shout
that in the
out.
intro.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, there
shout
you go.
out.
Plug it in
I'll
the
plug.
intro for sure.
Yeah. I always give them a little one, but yeah. Anyways, man. Well, if you guys need a marketing guy, hit Luke up. He's there for you, whether you just want some questions answered or whether you're looking to hire him. He obviously knows what he's talking about. He's helping a lot of people, and his work speaks for himself. So
Appreciate that, man, James. Have a great day. Can't wait to see you soon, and let's keep it rocking.
cool, man. See y'all.